Welcome to Monetize the Mic.
I'm Jessica Rhodes.
And I'm Margy Feltune.
And we are the co-owners of the award-winning multi-seven-figure podcast booking agency, Interview Connections.
This is the show to teach you how to transform your business and life with the power of visibility and strategy.
Let's get started.
Today, we're talking about a difficult question for many business owners, especially if you're a founder and your business is your baby. But it's an important question to ask, and we're going to talk about why. So today, we're asking the question, is it time to demote yourself? So we have been doing a lot of shifts organizationally behind the scenes at Interview Connections so that we can continue to serve our clients in the highest possible way and continue to improve the service and also improve the happiness and the joy of our team behind the scenes. And in looking at improving our organization, improving our leadership, one of the big themes has been the importance of getting the right people in the right seats, because having the people in the spots where they actually are able to thrive and in those positions has been huge to the business being able to grow quickly and effectively. And also to have people be happy, right? When people are in the wrong role, they're unhappy, their teams are unhappy. You can get very out of alignment very quickly.
Yeah. And the whole conversation around like demoting yourself it's a little triggering, especially for founders and business owners. You might even be like, okay, this doesn't apply to me. Trust me, it does. Keep listening. Even if you are a business owner, like founder, entrepreneur, like this is your thing, you're unemployable. Like this is important. This is an important conversation to have, because if you have days where you're feeling stressed and, like things aren't really flowing, there's a chance you're in the wrong role. And so just to share a little bit of a personal backstory, I'm the founder of Interview Connections. And for a long time I was, I'll put it in air quotes, CEO, which is, we'll get to that in a few minutes, but it's a title most founders and entrepreneurs call themselves. So I was CEO. When Margy came on as co-owner, we were like co-owners, and we just kind of, depending on the day, we had a different title. It was like, what are titles anyway? Everything was very fluid. And then we settled into what our lanes are and where we thrive. And we had a really important conversation at one point where we realized Margy is the visionary. She has the vision, and that is truly what a CEO has to bring to the table, is the vision. Where is the company going? So I stepped down as CEO, and that is not always easy for people to step down because it feels like a demotion, but we're waking you up with that word, because what is on the other side of you stepping into a role and that is a good fit and out of a role that's not a good fit is a lot less stress, is a lot more ease. And going through an experience like that gives you the ability to help other people who then need to go through that experience.
Yeah. And maybe you don't need to demote yourself, right? Because it's not easy. Even if you're in the right role, these roles are challenging. Running a business is challenging. Being a CEO or a COO, all of it is challenging. But I think what a lot of entrepreneurs maybe aren't seeing or aren't realizing is being a founder is not necessarily the same skills as leading a company as the CEO, as continuing to grow it. They might be. There are some people who have both. But what I've observed a lot in business is that everybody calls themselves the CEO, but that is a very specific role. And a lot of the people calling themselves the CEO are not necessarily actually doing that role. And there's a great, Gary Vee talks about this, about how kind of sexy it is to be like number one, the CEO. Like everybody thinks they want to be that because it sounds cool, but not everybody really should be that, has the skills to be that, or like, and this is really important, will enjoy that role, right? It feels good on the ego, but if you're in a role just because it sounds cool, but you hate it, you would probably be a lot happier somewhere else. And so this is, again, we're not saying you have to demote yourself and restructure your entire business, but there's a lot of like praise in the entrepreneurial world of like being a leader, being a visionary, being a CEO, like all of these things that you feel like you have to be to like look cool. But it's valuable to reflect on, what do you actually enjoy doing? What are you actually really good at? And where can you best serve your company?
Yeah, and I would recommend, doing what we did and research. What are these roles in actual companies? Like I would Google, what is a CEO? What does a CEO do? What does a vice president do? Like actually look up what these roles are, because upon doing that, you may say, "Oh, I've been calling myself the CEO." And again, we see this all the time. Business owners are like, "I'm the CEO." And I'm like, "You're not though. Like that is not, like you're giving yourself that title, but that's not what you're doing." So, and I think it's really important because on the one hand, you could say, "Well, what's the harm? They can call themselves whatever they want." But I think that when there is like inauthenticity, I don't think that's good vibes. Like I think that can create some difficult energy if you're just not being authentic about where your strengths are and what you're actually doing. And Marky and I are in a unique place and like we're in a unique place to be able to share this, because a lot of business owners don't have a partner, right? So you might say, okay, well, I don't really have somebody else that can be the CEO, but there's other ways. Like if you are not best suited for the visionary role, the executive role of CEO, and you really like doing the things that your business does, there are creative solutions for, working with a really great business coach who can help you cast a vision, right? So you want to think outside the box to make sure that you're not stuck and forced to be in a role in your business that's not like helping you lead in your strengths.
Yeah. And this changes over time, because when you have a brand new business and you're the only employee, and maybe you have a couple of VAs helping you out, like, sure, you're the CEO. You're also probably doing service delivery. You're probably also the salesperson. Like, you're all the things. But as the business grows, and at this point, we're at like 25 full-time employees. We did like $3 million in revenue last year. And it's really been, once we passed that first like million in revenue per year, that's when like really clarifying who should be where got important. And I think it's getting more and more important the bigger that we get. So if you have a brand new business, this probably isn't as relevant to you, right? Like you're the CEO, you're the founder, you're the service deliverer, you're all the things, and that's totally fine. But as you grow, I think a lot of people hold themselves back from the type of growth that's really possible, and from the level that their organization could actually reach by being a bottleneck, because they feel like they need to be in the place where they've always been, even if there's other people who might be more qualified and happier in those roles, and you can be in whatever role you really love and that best serves the company.
Yeah. And I want to just share a little bit of a personal anecdote, because Marky's really gifted and skilled at coaching people through this type of stuff, because, I'm the kind of the person that stepped out of the CEO role and all that comes with that. And basically what Marky helped me do is create a safe space to be able to talk about what I like doing and the roles that I like, that I would potentially really like doing, with safety. Because I think for a lot of people, it's like challenging to even say you might want to do something that's not perceived to be like a glamorous job or a glamorous role, or isn't like put up on this pedestal, because especially in like the business owner community, like being the CEO is like put up on this pedestal, being the face of the company. Like there's business owners that maybe you do not want to be the face of the company, but everyone's telling you you should be, and everyone's glamorizing that. But maybe you have a salesperson who would be amazing as the face of the company, and that's actually a better role for them, and you're better on behind the scenes. So just to give an example, but if you don't feel safe to even suggest that being in a different role is the right fit for you, then you will constantly be showing up inauthentically. And that will cause a lot of like friction and breakdowns, and quite frankly, all areas of your life.
Yeah. And as just said, if you don't have a partner or a key employee in your company to talk about this with, working with a coach like us or like somebody else who can create a safe space for you to actually ask these questions and explore is a really good option. And I think we're talking about the role of CEO, but I want to talk about starting a business in general or being an entrepreneur because it's very, very trendy to be a business owner right now. And that's amazing, right? Like it's really cool. There's so many people starting businesses who are genuinely like, this is what they're meant to do. They're loving it. And they probably wouldn't have a while ago when it was much harder. Now, with the internet and social media, it's pretty easy to start a company. It's pretty easy to market yourself. And that's amazing. And also, I think that, and from being in a lot of coaching programs and observing a lot of entrepreneurs, I think there are some people, and this is kind of a controversial thing to say. So send your hate mail to support@interviewconnections.com because I don't usually check that one. Sorry, Jess. But I think there are a lot of people who are entrepreneurs who are in business who probably shouldn't be, not because you're not good at it, but because it's not really what you want. Like there are definitely entrepreneurs out there who are true entrepreneurs. They are unemployable. They could not do anything else but own a business. But I also think there's a lot of people out there who would be very happy as key, highly paid, amazing employees for other entrepreneurs who aren't letting themselves even explore that possibility because it's so cool to be an entrepreneur right now. It feels really good to have that title. And I think some people are doing it because they think it's the cool thing to do or they should want to do it, not because they actually want to do that. And there's a great parallel here that's very near and dear to our hearts and what we do, which is starting a podcast. Everybody starts a podcast. Should everyone have a podcast? Probably not. Does everyone have content and creativity and stuff that's actually valuable? No. Is everybody actually going to stick with their podcast? That's the biggest thing. No. So, like, when people ask me, should I start a podcast? I don't say yes, even though I love podcasts. I ask follow-up questions like, why are you starting a podcast? Is it because you think that you should or because you truly want to? Are you just churning out content because you need a content machine, and which is okay. That works sometimes. Or is this like your art? Are you like pouring your heart into this? Like, how good do you want this to be? So I think starting a business and starting a podcast are kind of similar things in that they've exploded in popularity, but you see a lot of people giving up on their podcast after a few episodes or giving up on their business or not giving up on their business, but staying stuck for so long and investing in coaching and courses and all of this stuff when the problem might be that they don't really want to be a business owner anyway.
Yeah. So we've talked about a lot of different things today. We've gone in a lot of, various directions. And I want to extend an invitation. If you're listening to this and there's any part of you that, if we've struck a chord with any part of you and you're like, cool, what do I do with this? Because now I'm feeling some things and I'm not sure. I want to invite you to reach out to us to inquire about private coaching. Margy and I, as you can hear, have personal experience with a lot of this. And Margy is incredibly gifted at coaching you through the mindset and energy that is beneath times and decisions where you're drawn to something, not because you truly want it. And that's incredibly difficult to work through by yourself because there's a lot of, quite frankly, past traumas and ways of being and just habits and patterns that are so entrenched in your personality that you can't even begin to work yourself out of it. So if this resonates at all, reach out to us to inquire about coaching because we're very passionate about helping business owners and entrepreneurs live a fully self-expressed and authentic life. So you can email support@interviewconnections.com. I will personally get that email because Margy's not in that inbox. But just share a little bit about what came up for you when you heard this conversation. And we can share more about whether it's a VIP day or private coaching, but we'd love to support you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Monetize the Mic.
If you want to get booked on podcasts and learn how to monetize the mic without the hassle or the hustle of doing it yourself, then we invite you to apply for our free Monetize the Mic 3-part framework training. This special advanced training is available by application only, and it is the only place where we share our proprietary 3-part framework for how to monetize podcast interviews in your business. Go to monetizethemictraining.com to apply for access to this training. Again, go to monetizethemictraining.com.